Interested in learning about wine, but not sure where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast. I'm your host, Haley Bowman, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm a wine enthusiast turned wine educator and founder of the Seattle-based wine tasting business, Cork and Fizz. It is my goal to build your confidence in wine by making it approachable and lots of fun. You can expect to learn everything from how to describe your favorite wine to what to pair with dinner tonight, and so much more. Whether you're a casual wine sipper or a total cork dork like myself, this podcast is for you. So grab yourself a glass and let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast. So excited to have you here. Today, you'll be listening to part 2 of my interview with Lisa Tupetz. Now, if this is your first time joining the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast, or if you simply just haven't heard part 1 of this interview yet, I highly recommend pausing this episode and going back to listen to episode 122, the one just before this, so you can hear part 1. As a reminder, Lisa is a winemaker, distributor, and the founder of Tupetz Wine Connection, a German wine import company with the goal not only to sell German wine to those of us here in the U.S., but also connecting people with family-run German estates through authentic, low-intervention wine. In this episode, we'll talk more about the sparkling wine from Germany that you absolutely need to try, and the top tips from Lisa on how to find the best versions. We'll discuss a unique grape variety that nearly went extinct, but is now being used to make delicious wine, and Lisa has one available on her website. And then we'll learn how Lisa manifested getting her wine on one of, if not the, top wine list in the world. And of course, so much more. Let's dive in. Let's talk about a specific German wine that I think a lot of people might not be aware of. You mentioned it earlier as well, but it's a sparkling wine. And I think a lot of people, when they think sparkling, either go champagne from France or Prosecco from Italy. And they might not realize there's a great sparkling wine coming out of Germany. And also, that it is a little harder because even for myself, it's hard to know. So the sparkling German wine is called Sekt, and you can probably say it better than I can. Sekt. The other thing about it is that there's different versions of it, and I've definitely had different qualities of this wine. So first, can you just tell us about the sparkling wine? And then I know you mentioned, how can we make sure we're getting a traditional method made one like champagne, because I know it can be made in different ways. So yeah, tell us all about this fun German sparkling wine.
Yeah, it's slightly tricky, especially, so champagne is a protected name or term. So champagne has to come from champagne. It's made in a champagne method, slash traditional method. So it's obvious that you're getting a certain quality. And then again, for champagne too, you have grower champagne, you have vintage champagne. There are different subcategories to champagne. There are different levels of quality and everything too. And then when we go to Germany now, Sekt is just a term for German sparkling wine. That could be anything. It could be a really cheaply made one, which, just like mass-produced grapes, big tank fermentation, first fermentation, second fermentation, a tank as well, a pressurized tank, then bottled and then sold for, I don't know, just a few euros in grocery stores or something.
Sure,
so this is something that you can do. Because it's forced carbonate, like a base wine. And, there's so many different sparkling wine products that are technically, Sekt, but not necessarily what, you want to drink. And then it comes to another option would be you start fermenting the first base wine, finish the fermentation of the first wine, and then you put it into a bottle for the second fermentation, have a bottle age, finish fermentation, bottle a second fermentation, and then you can disgorge it and you can put it into a tank to homogenize the entire lot again. And then you will put it back into a bottle. That would be something you can do too. But it's already a pretty good, method, because it's still a fermented bottle for the second time as well. And it's kind of cool. But the real deal would be fermented in bottle. And then you also, as a consumer, buy the bottle and ferment it in. So that's the classic traditional method. And this is what you want to drink if it comes to sparkling wine. Prosecco has the same thing. The Franciacorta makes something too. Cava is made that way too. So there's certain qualities that you want to look for, or names and terms that speak for high quality wines. So if you buy German sparkling wine, definitely look for the term, when if you import it, if I import it, I put it on the back label in English too, so you know what you're getting. But
first, look on the back and it says imported by Lisa Tupetz, and then you're great.
then you know. Then you know it's like champagne method,
Yeah.
traditional method, or called a klassische Flaschengärung, which is like the term for traditional bottle fermentation. So you want to look for the term bottle fermentation. Most of the sparkling wines, at least the ones I work with, have a vintage too. And they're also coming from the vineyards that the producers own as well. So almost all of the sparkling wines I have are technically a grower, like, grower champagne.
Yeah.
And also vintage too. And usually if it's like a high quality sparkling wine, you will also find the grape varieties on the label too.
Just a quick reminder, if you are not on my mailing list yet, what are you waiting for? I would love for you to join. When you do, you'll get a free shopping guide that has 15 of my favorite wines under $15. Head to corkandfizz.com, scroll down to the bottom, and there'll be a little section where you can join the mailing list. I send out a weekly newsletter filled with wine tips, recommendations, special offers, and so much more. Now, let's get back to the show. Yeah, I was going to ask about what grapes are used. Can it be any grape that can be used to make Sekt?
Yes. So that you can find like Riesling Sekt, you can find Sauvignon Blanc Sekt. The rosé one might have some Pinot in there. We have Blanc de Noir, which usually has some Pinot Meunier in there too. Some Pinot Noir, obviously. We have Blanc de Blanc, which is usually all Chardonnay. I have some Pinot Blanc sparkling wine as well in my book. So I have all different types of sparkling wines, and you can make all different varieties and use different varieties too. Yeah, so that's like the cool thing about German sparkling wines. They're really interesting, and you can get anything. And also, if you want to look for like the better ones too, look for Brut or Brut Natur or Zero Dosage, so they're nice and dry. I think all my sparkling wines except for one are Brut Natur, so that means they have no added sugar at the final step of after disgorging, and then gets added. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for when it comes to sparkling wine. What you look at too.
Yeah. It's so fascinating that the term, because I think a lot of times when I think about the term, but I feel like maybe Cava's a little similar in that there's low quality Cava and then there's really high quality Cava, and Cava being the Spanish sparkling. But even then it still has to be made the traditional method way, even if it's low quality. And so it's so interesting that with Sekt, it just purely means German sparkling. We could have made it anyway, so you're going to have to look a little closer at that bottle and maybe even ask questions. I think especially if you're buying from a smaller wine shop, you can always ask them how it was made. And then you're going to have to send me the word. You said a very German word that I would not know how to spell.
Flaschengärung.
Yeah, exactly, that one. You're going to have to send that to me, and I'll put it in the show notes. So folks who are listening that are like, she said something, but I have no idea what it looks like.
And it sounds scary. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll have to send it to me, and I'll put it in the show notes. And what it basically just means bottle fermented, so it'll be that traditional method. So good. Okay. Well, folks, go out and try. You definitely got to try a Sekt. Which, speaking of, let's talk about for your wine selection, and we're going to talk about where folks can find it as well. But I always like to ask people who have lots of wine options, whether it's a winery or like a wine shop or an import company like you, if folks want to try your wine and, they're looking at all the different options and they're a little overwhelmed, what are 3 bottles that you would recommend they purchase because you feel like they're a good representative of your wine and the wine that you bring in from Germany? And I know I'm making you pick out of your children. I'm very sorry, but I think it just helps people kind of zone in and okay, what should I try? What does Lisa say that I should try from her wines?
So I would definitely go for an Elbling. This is one of my top sellers at the moment too. It's a really cool price point. It's a grape variety that used to be planted all over Europe for about 2,000 years and then vanished from the market. But it's still a small area in the Mosel Valley, close to the border of Luxembourg, who still produces Elbling. And just a handful of producers. Yeah. So Elbling is actually a really cool, just a fun grape variety. It makes kind of a not too aromatic wine. It's almost more like a middle of the side. It's low alcohol usually too. So it's just a really interesting and fun, a fun wine to drink. It's something that you start, in night with. If you cook something, you just have an Elbling. And I was
is that a white grape variety or red?
It's a white grape variety. Yeah, it's white. Yeah. And Yeah, so it's kind of like a really fun wine, something that you don't see anywhere else. So it's, kind of cool thing just to try something different.
Definitely.
And then, yeah, I would definitely go for a classic dry German Riesling as a second wine. So the Elbling comes from Garretenhof, which is like a cool wine. So my Garretenhof I used to work at, it's like my, feels like my family winery. It's like where I used to live at to do my winemaking studies for parts of my time too. And so it's like totally like, a really fun wine to drink. He also makes a sparkling wine out of it. So if you want to try both side by side, it's kind of fun too. The second one would be like, a classic dry German Riesling. I started working with Gaga last year, which is like a really famous winery in Germany. So I'm really excited to have them in my book. They're great. And we just started working last September and getting a new order in this fall too. So I will restock everything, including, his incredible dry Riesling. So you could either go for the estate wine, which is like the entry level. So Germany has a predicate system which focuses on sweet wines, and then we moved to like a new system for the most part for the dry wines, which is estate level as the entry level wines, and then village wines like the Dim Burgundy for the second tier, and then the single vineyard wines like the Grand Cru for the single vineyard high end wines too. So with like 30 Dakar, you could go for like the estate wine, just like a really incredible quality and like something that you definitely get like a really classic interpretation of German Riesling. And then you could, if you want to do a little bit, above that one, go for one of the village wines or even like the Wunderwerk, which is like a idea of like, was 4 single vineyard sites in one wine. So it's almost like a Grand Cru 2.0 or something.
Yeah.
The next step of
cool.
that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a really cool producer, like a wine that I would definitely like, push you towards too. And then I would choose a sparkling wine. So most likely, Heinz Wagner is incredible. He's like, it's like, okay, which one should I choose now?
Right. You're like, oh my gosh,
Maybe you should just get 6 wines. Can we do 6?
Yes, yeah.
Cool. That's a 6 wines. Yeah. So I would do Heinz Wagner. He makes everything with like Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, always 60-40, but he differentiates his wines based on aging time on lease in bottle. So, one is like the entry level tradition is up to 16 months. The prestige is up to 24 months. And then the vintage one is like up to 36 months. So it's like a different aging time on these two. Or the other one would be Griesel. Griesel is the top producer when it comes to German sparkling wine right now. So he's incredible. I love their wines. They keep selling out like so quickly too when I get them. And it's just a really stunning product when it comes to classic German sparkling wine. And here in Germany too, almost every wine list has them. Everyone knows about Griesel. I took my dad at a spring too, and we just tasted everything. He's like, that's pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And he's a beer drinker. So he was just like, I could drink this. And he's like, he chose the most expensive one. And I was like, well, great, Dad. Well, good thing you know that, right? And I was like, yes.
Yes, but it runs in the family choosing the most expensive one, doesn't it?
Apparently. I was like, great, Dad.
I love it. Well, those all sound amazing. And so for folks that are listening, as Lisa mentioned, you can purchase these on her website as long as you're in the US. And I'm guessing it's for like any of the states that generally can get wine shipped to them. I know there's a few of them that like, if you can't get wine shipped to you, I'm very sorry. Your state needs to figure it out.
Totally.
Generally, if you're in the US, you can go to Tupetz Wine, TUPETZ wine.com and purchase there. And then you have a 15% off code for folks, correct? So that is CorkFizz15. And I can put that in the show notes for people to go check it out. And you can purchase wine. She has a great selection. And I know you also like have a page all about like each of the different wineries if you want to learn about them, which is wonderful. And you have a wine club. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the wine club?
Oh, totally. Yeah. So I always feel like a wine club is fun. And usually a wine club means that you will go to a winery, you get free tastings and all these things. So me being an online wine club, I have a different idea or different setup, obviously. So the fun thing about wine club is that I have currently with my next shipment coming in 9 different wineries that I work with. And to me, buying wines for the wine club specifically is like one of the most fun things out there that I can do because I go through wineries, I taste the portfolio, I buy wines for, by the glass pricing for restaurants and everything, get like this idea. And then I just go into like the cellar with them or like find something very cool, something more unique, not necessarily expensive, but something that you would 100% not find in any retail shop because it's just like too unique and something that's like there's too much talk, you have to talk about to explain a wine to someone and whatnot. So the wine club has like constantly changing wines in it. I add new wineries at least once a year, have 1 or 2 new wineries and within like the past 3 years that I add to my portfolio too. And so you have like an almost rotating wine club shipments. They ship out either quarterly or twice a year, depending on how much wine you want to get. So if a small club, a starter club, or like the big one, the normal one. And it's always 6 bottles, and usually averages about $200. So not really expensive. It's 6 bottles, and you get 20% off if you're in the wine club, or 15 for the smaller one.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's such a great way if you're, you just want to try some new wines and, just to kind of regularly have some new wine coming in. And like you said, they're like extra special because you care. So, like the members are what like keep a wine, they keep a winery alive. So I'm sure it's similar for you in selling wine that like it's very useful to have those folks. And so you care, you do a little extra for the wine club.
Yeah, and you can let me know too if you feel like, there's certain wines you don't like. I can always edit the wine clubs too. And you can also edit them yourself too. So like a week before the shipment comes out, you get an email saying, I just came up with like my new selection based on the season. I usually put like a recipe in there that I like, or tell you more about a certain product, how it's made and why I chose that one and like when you should drink it. And so, but you're also able to edit your shipments. If this is, a certain wine, you're like, great. Oh, I don't trust her on this one, then I won't be offended.
Like, listen, Lisa, I know you like this one, but it's just not for me.
Oh, well, yeah, it doesn't sound like anything I would want to drink. So that's, I won't get offended. You're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also love if you just trust me and buy my wines.
Yeah. No, that's fun. I love it. Okay. Well, I have to ask, I saw on your website, there were 2 major accomplishments that you were talking about on there. One, making it on the French Laundry wine list. And for folks who don't know French Laundry, it's a major restaurant in Napa, right? And it's just like they are like the top of the top for restaurants and for getting on that wine list. And you were named Importer of the Year by Sommeliers Choice Awards. And so I'm going to make you pick again. Which one were you more excited?
More excited.
Both amazing. I'm so grateful to the sponsors who help make this podcast possible. And today's sponsor is one I personally love, wine.com. You know I'm all about exploring new wines, but let's be real, it's not always easy to find unique bottles, especially if you're limited to what's near you. That's why I love shopping on wine.com. They have a huge selection, wines at every price point, user-friendly search features, and real wine experts ready to help you find your next favorite bottle. And here's a special deal just for you as a podcast listener. Get free shipping on orders over $150 at wine.com/corkfizz with promo code corkfizz. My recommendation? Build a mix of 6 to 12 bottles to try. Some you know, some you've never heard of. Not sure what to pick? Message me. I'd love to help. Or take advantage of the live chat wine experts at wine.com.
I know. I think more excited just because of like how it all happened. Definitely the French Laundry.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't expecting either of both, but it was kind of funny. So Margaretenhof, the winery I used to work at, Nico came over, the winemaker. He's like my younger brother. We worked together. I mean, he wasn't even working in a winery back then. He was like, I think 17. So he was just like, he was hanging out, but not really in the winemaking yet. And I did my internship there. And then since 2020, he's in charge of production. He took over the family business too. Like he's like now the owner and everything. So I'm like, so proud of you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then last year he was like, can I come to California for my summer vacation? And I was like, you will have to work, but totally come on over. And so we met in Napa for a few days and then drove down to where I live and hung out. And we went to the French Laundry. Like we drove to the French Laundry. We looked at it. We didn't actually go there. Yeah. One day.
Yeah, right? We're like, that's another dream for another day.
Yes. Yeah. Later. So we actually went to the French Laundry to look at it. And we were like standing there, like, one day we will have our wines here. And that was kind of like, we manifested that one.
Yeah.
And then he flew back to Germany. I think I just like for like 2 weeks later, I was in Germany too, to just work harvest and like hang out a little bit and taste more wines and see what's going on. And then I got the message from the French Laundry saying, hey, we would like to list Nico's wine that we just tasted. And I was like, oh, that's a fun coincidence. So I was like, hey, Nico, guess what?
Yeah, you're like, that happened a lot faster than we were expecting.
Yeah. So within 3-4 weeks, we're like, waiting. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, that was awesome. And then, so it's like really exciting. I have 2 other wines listed there too. Actually, non-alcoholic sparkling wine from Heinz Wagner from the Black Forest. He only makes sparkling wine and I have non-alcoholic sparkling of his. And his sparkling wine just tastes incredible. It's like the guy who makes like a 60-40 Pinot Chardonnay, and then it has different aging times on his wines. And so for non-alcoholic sparkling, he has a de-alcoholized Pinot Noir rosé that he uses. And then his background is actually in vermouth making. And so, and I don't actually know about vermouth, but vermouth is like 75% of a base wine, and then 25% is like a different, almost like a macerate or like a, like a tea, like something that you kind of, extract herbs and everything. And so he's like, well, what can I do to enhance the quality and the flavor of a de-alcoholized wine? He's like, it's one of the most saddest things in the world. It's like a de-alcoholized wine. He's like, what can I do, to make this, work? And so he opened his like textbook from back in the day for making vermouth, and like went like looked at all the different herbs and stuff, and I get an idea. For example, if you eat mint, menthol makes your mouth like really cold. Certain herbs make your mouth, like cinnamon is like a warming flavor. So the different perceptions that a herb or like certain fruit or sense or smell can associate with your brain to make you think of something that you actually don't even like have.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, how can I make this product to actually smell sweet without being too sweet? How can I add some more texture to the palate, to the tongue, the impression when you drink it, to actually associate that you think you're actually having alcohol, because alcohol is like it transports flavors. It's like cooking with no butter and no fat. There's not much happiness there either. So, and so he was like, okay, let's see what I can do. So he came up with like this really cool herb and fruit balance, or ideal combination that he uses, and has like his own recipe for it. And then he adds this concentrate that he makes, the macerate, to the de-alcoholized rosé with like barely any sugar. So it's like really low sugar too. And then carbonates it, puts it in a cool sparkling wine bottle. It gets a normal like cork, it's like a champagne cork.
Yeah.
And like the gasket too. So it looks like a legit sparkling wine. And it tastes really good too. So the French Laundry has it too, and it's actually selling really well. And I had people calling me afterwards. They're like, I went to the French Laundry. I would like to buy some more of the non-alcoholic. And I was like, I love this, but did you drink wine too? I hope you did. So,
like, this was not what I was expecting to come out of this, was people wanting the non-wine thing.
I know. But I think it's also, people go there and then look at the list to get an idea of what they could purchase, what they think is actually good. And so, if you have an alcoholic product because you're either pregnant or maybe your parents don't want to drink anymore, or just to have like an alternative for, days that you don't want to drink, then they might be actually referred to the French Laundry to see what they're going with. And that's kind of cool for me. Like, I love that. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's fun. I'm definitely gonna have to try that one. I'm expecting right now. And so I've been trying to figure out non-alcoholic wines. And they are not great at the moment. You're so right. They are so sad. I'm working on finding a good one, so I'll have to try that one. All right. Well, we're getting to the end of this, and I have one more question I want to ask you before we get to what I call my speed round, which is just like quick answer, kind of fun questions. But most of this I wanted to talk about, the Tupetz wine collection and your import company. But I saw that you started a collective, or you're a co-founder of the Small Poppies Wine Collective, and I started looking into that, and I realized there was another previous podcast guest that you are working with, Jane Lopes of Legend Wine Imports, importing Australian wine. So can you just tell us a little bit about the collective and what your goals are with it?
Yes. So we just launched in May, pretty much. We were talking together. Like, I met Peter, who is the owner of Culture Company. He imports South African wines, and we got connected. I think we met through Instagram. It's like how we meet different importers and different wine people. It's like, Instagram helps us to find people. And so we all got together, talked over Zoom, and shared a similar philosophy of how we source wines, who we work with, and how we present certain areas and regions and wineries and stuff. So we have a lot of shared values when it comes to how we work. And Peter and I also have the same concept too. He has a wine shop as well, and an online shop too for South African wines, which is like really cool. And then the other two, Jane imports Australian wines, and then Eric, he's focusing on Eastern European wines. So with like the four of us, we have a really diverse, interesting collection of wines. And what we were planning on doing is, by working together, and we want to present and represent wines that you usually don't see somewhere. And then the four of us, we can reach, a bigger audience too. Like, we can also reach wine shops differently. So what we've been starting now is we work with 4 retailers per month, and those 4 retailers feature 4 of our wines across the month and like different tasting and flights. And then every retailer also has one event where we show up, and then we do like a collective wine event too, where you can taste wines from all 4 importers. You can get to taste what we have, talk to us, and learn more about what it means to be a small importer versus like the big ones. And I think this comes back to what I said earlier too, with like, questioning a little bit more where something comes from and like what you're actually consuming, and be a little bit more curious about certain things. So that's like kind of like, what we kind of thought would be cool. And what we do as well, like we help promote the retail shop as well. And then they like that we are able to help them promote, them, and vice versa. They have a small section now in their shelf too, where it says, imported by like a small importer. And then we have like some advertisement now too, like marketing material for them that they can use and make it easier for them to spread the word. One of them is now also using our wines for Stekt's Wine Club shipments too. So it kind of makes everything a little bit more all-rounded and like helps all of us to grow and talk about what it means to import wines from family-owned smaller businesses.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm definitely going to have to mention this to all the small wine shops around here to tell them to look into the Small Poppies Wine Collective, because all of those wines sound amazing. I mean, your wines are great. And I know, talking to Jane Lopes, I was like, I need to try all the Australian wines that you...
I know. She's incredible. I love her book too. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, that is super fun. Okay. Well, before you go, I have my little speed round. It's not meant to be like, you don't have to like, super quick answer. It's more meant to be like, don't think too hard on these questions. Otherwise, you're going to be like, it might be harder to come up with an answer, is essentially the idea. So first thing that comes to mind is all that you need. So for the first question, what is your favorite wine at the moment?
Yeah, great. Actually, champagne. Like, it's a champagne. It's from the producer called Musset. It's 100% Pinot Noir. It's like the anniversary wine that they made. Pinot Meunier, sorry. Pinot Meunier, 100% Pinot Meunier. And I had it a couple of times now in America. And it's just like such an amazing wine. Yeah, it's like their 100-year anniversary wine that they made for the special club, like, the champagne special club. Yeah. And it's just like such a beautiful wine or champagne.
Champagne is
so I wish I could drink more of it.
So good. I know, right? Okay, how about, what is like your go-to bottle of wine to bring to like a dinner party or to share with friends?
Probably dry Riesling, just to get people away from like the idea of like Riesling is always sweet.
Yes, and I feel like you have to pour it and not say what it is, and then be like, here, taste this, and then they can be, and you're like, it's Riesling.
It's dry, can you tell?
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, how about, and I feel like you might be a little biased on this, but it's okay to be biased. What is your favorite wine region you've ever visited?
That definitely was a tricky one, because I was like, what, she asked me this, and I was like, probably New Zealand, just because I like where it all started. Like Canterbury, New Zealand, is absolutely stunning. And it also looks so familiar similarly to the Central Coast in California. So it's like crazy. It's like the rolling green hills. I mean, it's sometimes green in California. The rolling green hills and stuff. So yeah, Canterbury, New Zealand, definitely. This is like where it all started. But then I've also been to Priorat, which is stunning. And then all like the steep slopes in the Mosel Valley. And
yes.
I know there's so many beautiful areas. I feel like every wine area has something like magical to it.
No, it's so true. They're so beautiful. Okay, so then the flip side, how about a wine region you'd like to visit that you have not been to yet?
I want to go to Burgundy. It sounds crazy. I have not been to Burgundy. So it's like, I don't even know why I haven't been, because I grew up in Europe, but it's fine.
There's just so many wine regions. It's so hard to visit all of them. It's impossible.
I know. Yeah, and I feel like for Burgundy specifically, I want to go with someone who knows a lot about it too. Yeah. Because there's like so much to it, and I'm almost like intimidated by it too, which is like, maybe silly. I don't know.
No,
I just probably have to go and like, explore it, maybe go several times. But that's something I want to do. Like every time I go to, like travel somewhere now, I want to go to a new wine region or like a new area. So.
Yeah. We went to Burgundy. I finally went to France last September. And we did Burgundy, and we booked the tours and talked with folks there, because otherwise, I mean, there's no other way to really get tastings in that region. At least they're very to themselves. So yeah, definitely recommend going with someone that knows, or looking up. I had someone on the podcast here, Kim, I'm forgetting her last name, but she does tours and knows the area really well. She's a great tour guide for that, and booked some great tastings. Okay.
Tours can be fun. Yeah. I'm doing actually a wine river cruise in 2027. I'm like the wine expert on a cruise.
Okay.
So anyone who's listening wants to do on a wine river cruise, let me know. It's going through Switzerland and then through all of Germany to Amsterdam.
Nice. That sounds amazing. Very fun. Okay, now what about like a favorite wine and food pairing?
That's a very tricky one too, I'd say. But usually, no, I think I love lobster.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
again, like lobster and champagne always
Mhm.
works, or like, a Sekt, like a really cool Sekt and lobster. Or I eat oysters a lot because I live by the ocean. It's something so like that's totally a thing. And oysters paired with even like a dry Riesling works really well.
Yeah.
But usually I do Sekt or the oyster bar I go to in Avila Beach. They make really good Chardonnay, like a wine tasting
Ooh,
room. But they
okay.
also have an import list. They have like some Chablis every now and then too, or my Riesling. So yeah, I love going there.
I love it.
If you ever go to California, let me know and I'll give you all the places to go to.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, now last two questions. If you were given $1,000 and you had to spend it on wine, what wine would you buy? And not your wine. We're make you go outside of that. But the idea is kind of like, would you buy, like people have said before, like, oh, I would just like go to a wine shop and get like, a couple boxes and host a party, or other people are like, I'd go for the really expensive stuff, or like, yeah, how would you spend $1,000 on wine?
I'd probably mix it up. I wouldn't just buy one bottle or two. I'd probably mix it up for sure. I probably would get a couple more expensive ones, but then add a few more like really good value ones to it. But I think with like $1,000, it would be maybe 5, 6 different wines. Like I wouldn't go too crazy, like too many.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
like do my research too and see which ones I think should be really fun.
Are there
Yeah.
any that come to mind right away that you're like, this would be something that I would buy if I had money to spend?
Oh, that's a good one. There are probably a few of the champagnes that I would
Yeah.
just be like, yeah, I kind of have to. A couple of Riesling, and then there's some incredible like German Pinot Noir as well that are like pretty pricey that I probably would put in there too. Yeah, I got to taste a few this year when I was in Germany too, and I was just like, yeah, there's some really cool ones out there.
I love
Yeah,
it. Okay, last question. What is one wine myth or something around the world of wine that bothers you?
definitely the sweet Riesling one.
I should have
No,
seen
but then
that one
also,
coming.
right? Yeah. Then also the thing that sulfur is bad for you, that sulfur gives you a headache.
Yeah.
That's something too. I'm like, I don't think so. And yeah, I think it's one of the main ones. And then also that you always have to pair red wine and cheese. Just like,
Yes. Yeah. White wine is great. Riesling, dry Riesling with so many cheeses is such a great pairing.
yeah. And there's so much cheese out there and so many different wines. You cannot just say this is like one thing or the other. Or then also the other thing would be like a room temperature wine. Like room temperature used to be, 60s. And now it's
Yeah.
like more like a 70s. So if you drink a red wine, have it in a wine fridge beforehand or put it in the fridge a little bit before you drink it. Like room temperature is actually not cool
Yes.
anymore.
No, couldn't agree more.
Literally not cool anymore. Yeah.
Not cool, pun intended.
Yeah, right.
All right. Perfect place to end this. Thank you so much,
There
Lisa,
you go.
for joining
Thank
me and
you.
talking about the German wine. You can find a lot of stuff in the show notes. Like I said, try some of Lisa's wine. It's at tupetswine.com. And we have the discount CorkFizz15 for 15% off. So go give it a try. Thanks again, Lisa. Enjoy the rest of your time in Germany.
Thanks for having me. Oh, I'm sure I will.
All right. Cheers. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast. If you're in the US, be sure to go check out Lisa's wine selection. She has an online wine store, tupetswine.com. That is TUPETZ wine.com. And I have a 15% off coupon, especially for you as a listener. It is CorkFizz15. Cork Fizz followed by the number 15, 1-5. If you love this episode as much as I did, you know the deal. Rate it, leave a review, leave a comment. I think I also have a phone number somewhere in the show notes that you can text me directly. It does go directly to me so I can see those messages. Let me know what you were surprised by in the podcast. Were you expecting that German sparkling wine could be as good as we talked about it being? In next week's episode, we'll be talking about wines from New Zealand. We'll be going beyond your typical New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc to find some true hidden gems. Thanks again for listening, and if you want to learn more about wine, come follow me at Cork and Fizz on Instagram. Cheers!